Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Thanks for tuning in, listening. It's 2019. Happy New Year. I am your host, Ange. I go by many other names, AOLA, A Young Orange, among other ones. You know what my name for you should be if you have a name for me at all. But now everyone has a name for me, and that's Ange. Welcome. This is MS Squared. We'll break down exactly what that means. So look at here, y'all. It's a brand new year, brand new me, right? Isn't that the idea for every new year? And oh my goodness, it's 2019. Except you guys don't really know, guys and gals don't really know the old me. So I thought I'd take the opportunity of this first episode to let you in on the lowdown skinny about myself and about the show and how it all ties together with that so unfortunately familiar condition and entity we all have grown to at least know, hopefully, if you're tuning into this podcast, multiple sclerosis, how it's become one of the major players of my life. I became familiar and in a relationship with multiple sclerosis as for what it is as a young jelly bean. At the ripe age of 8, my biological mother, was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. She was in her mid to late 40s at the time, I believe. I know it's probably a shame that I don't really know the exact age of my mother, and I will get back to you on that, maybe in a future episode, but this is just a quick look at the past of Ange and what brings us all here today. So yeah, I've been really familiar. I've been familiar with it now for 20 years. I'm now 28 myself, and I have been, I don't know, sometimes I call it a blessing, a lot of times I call it a reverse blessing, but I've been carrying MS with me my entire life, basically since the age of 8. Because, as you know, primary progressive MS is very swift in how it does overtake the body and weaken muscles and all sorts of things that are just terrible. It prohibited my mother from being able to take care of me, so I was taken out of her home, put into systematic care, and within the first, I would say, 6 months, I started feeling symptoms of my own. I was exactly 12, actually. So an adolescent jelly bean at this age, preteen, I guess, and I had been experiencing having a weak equilibrium, nausea, double vision, slurred speech. I was so young, I was taken to the hospital, and they did a number of tests on me, CT scans, eventually MRIs, that led to the question of multiple sclerosis, and later on receiving a full lumbar puncture within about a month and receiving an official diagnosis of relapsing remitting MS, which I struggle with still to this day. For a lot of us who have MS, we unfortunately find a hard time recovering from it 100%, 90%, a good percent. And that's something that I'm looking to change for myself, and I hope that that will change just in the community in general, maybe with that stem cell research and all these drugs, all these new clinically acclaimed multiple sclerosis medications that are coming out continuously these days. Hopefully there will be a way to totally, obliterate multiple sclerosis. I know there's been cases such as Dr. Terry Walls who have claimed and have, I guess, matter-of-factly, learned to completely obliterate MS from their life, even after being afflicted and going through the motions of having it. So that's really inspirational. But I've had it since I was 12, and it's pretty much been a feature in my life, and I'm just learning to live with it. I'm not just learning, but I've learned to just live with it. And so now I'm here talking about it, letting y'all know that I'm not in the best of shape, but I'm definitely okay. You know what I mean? I don't know. I try to keep it positive all the time. I feel like positivity, it has carried me a long way with this condition, and I'm so thankful to have that, especially when there can be so much of the opposite being presented to us left and right, here and there, in our faces on social medias. I want to bring a little light if I can and sort of just raise some concerns and some personal conflicts I've had, maybe that you can relate to, maybe that you want to talk about. I definitely want to hear from listeners of the podcast and be able to interact with you guys. I feel like for myself, having totally been, deprived, I feel like, of my normal teenage years, I wasn't a normal teenager. I did have to go to school with a walker. I did have to finish school with a walker, and it's really upsetting. But I can't reach out to anyone. That was difficult because as many other people who I found with MS, most of them were not like me. Most of the people I have run into have been older people, usually Caucasians, and I myself am not either of those. I'm a young Black woman, and I have had to struggle in so many ways outside of this illness that it makes this illness I don't know, a birthmark when I haven't had it since birth. It's really interesting because honestly, from that first meeting with MS, seeing it through my mother's experience and seeing that she survived with it for 15 years, I am amazed because now that I'm where she was in her time period of going through the trials of MS and the battles and all that, and being as okay as I am is really quite fascinating to me. In addition to the possibility of being able to connect with young folks like me who do have this condition on a more wide-scale basis. I was lucky enough to meet someone this year who's just a few years younger than me, who is also an MS patient, and she's become a dear friend of mine. And that's been really cool. It still feels strange though. And I sort of would like to normalize it in a much bigger way, the same way that, someone born in the 1950s with MS is normalized. Younger people with this condition is not. And it hasn't been because it's fairly new, I guess. I'm not sure, but we're going to find out. I'm going to find out. We're going to find out. You're going to be with me on this journey, I hope. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what we go through, our trials and tribulations, being millennials, and hopefully even get some feedback from those born in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s diagnosed with this illness, and receive some insight maybe, or just any type of professional that would like to hopefully join us in this journey and contribute to us as a community, as a sub-fraction of the community, with knowledge and support and love and all that good vibes. I'm all about vibing, being vibelicious. That's what we want. That's what I would want for people that I see myself in and see some of the hardest parts of myself in. It's been really hard coping with having this illness and feeling so alone. And I know that continuously I've seen, like brochures that say that support for people with MS and long-term conditions in general, support from community and from loved ones and from, in addition to the medical BS that comes with it, is so important. And so I don't know how much it's going to help with me having a show talking about millennial struggles and, I have to worry about possibly buying a house now with, all this other things on my plate. I don't even have a car, guys. That is the biggest, scariest investment for me right now, because I am so afraid of, exacerbating while driving. That is something that I don't want to do. And I have all these players in my life who can't understand how that is, how that feels, that fear, that uneasiness that is, and that I wish wasn't, but is. It's there. And I want to push forward. I want to push past it. And I want to help anyone else who may be going through the same situation push past it. I could be the only young person with MS who does not know how to drive, or who does not have her license, rather. And nobody else could relate, but as long as, I'm doing what I can to hopefully reach out and connect with folks, young or old, who may not know how to drive, who see that they're not alone, that really makes a world of difference to me. And I'm so happy to have this podcast. I did hesitate on why I would make a podcast in the first place. This is my first podcast. I'm not a stranger to being in radio and broadcasting. I went to school for broadcasting, both television and radio, and I fell in love with radio broadcasting. I've done a few gimmick podcasts, but nothing that was actual or that really sort of symbolized me as a person. It always felt like an act. So this is me coming out of my shell just laying it all out and hopefully getting others to listen in and vibe with it. I'm going to let y'all know, yesterday was the day after Christmas, and I couldn't, I honestly, probably for the first time in the process of having MS, struggled to put my clothes on because I couldn't lift my leg, because lying down to put my pants on was like the only option. If I even tried to stand up, that spelled disaster and tumbling over, and it was such a struggle. I was sweating, and these were not tight pants. They were nice fitting pants. They were actually my partner's pants, so his pants were quite bigger than mine. So it was an experience that was sort of biting, and it sort of laughed away all of the hesitancies that I had for doing this podcast and putting myself out there and hopefully connecting with you or you and just being real. I mean, I do want to talk about developments in dealing with MS and things that are working for me. I want to talk about, I want to share what y'all to share with me, what's working for you. Maybe we could just discuss and throw things back and forth. That would be great. I will be providing my contact information via email, and a message, a call-in message center that you can even call into, and we can, if you want to discuss something on air or not on air, because it's not on air. There I go with my radio. But if you want to call and maybe have a conference podcast, or if I can interview you, I would love to. And just, get some good vibes out there regarding MS, as well as, dealing with the effects of MS that are in front of us as well. So, I want to help contribute to the balance of it all, if that's cool. If you'll let me, if you'll so oblige me, I wouldn't mind that. I'll just be here anyway, doing this, because why not? At this point in my life, I don't know really what else there could be for myself. I feel kind of like defeated lately. I broke my ankle 3 months ago in September. It's now December, so it's been an official 3 months. I definitely have been suffering since then in terms of getting around and mobility, more so than I was before I broke my ankle, which kind of, is a test for me mentally, because I didn't feel confident when I was just regularly hobbling around. Now I feel like both my good leg and my bad leg have been compromised, and essentially kicking me in my own butt, for lack of better saying. So, with this new year, I really think that I want to start it differently and start it with a different air about me, So that's why I'm also doing this podcast. There's a lot of different things and different reasons. It is called Millennial or MS squared, multiple sclerosis and millennial. Then the next word is spelled with, symbols, because this is also a family-friendly radio, MS&Me radio, that I am going to be broadcasting on, and I don't want to put too many exploitive deletives or any if I can help it, which usually I can't, so I will probably have to go back in some shows and delete that as well. But definitely, it's definitely MS squared, because the last word in that spells out the S word, and it's in symbols, like only a millennial would understand, right? So I thought it would be a cheeky, cute thing, and plus it's about the stuff that I want to talk about, what's going on in MS news today, hashtag read this, hashtag check in, all that good stuff. Talk about, finances, talk about, energy levels, excitement. There's an exclamation mark in there. And then, like I mentioned earlier, just that positivity that fuels and has fueled and continues to fuel me as a subject who is inflicted with multiple sclerosis and, is not letting multiple sclerosis bring me down. I've always liked to say, I have MS, MS does not have me. And I feel like that applies to everything, multiple sclerosis and millennial S word, if you will. I am bigger than multiple sclerosis, and so are you. You're so much more than just that. Your positivity can be, channeled in many different ways. Maybe you're religious and that's where you find your source of positivity. You're spiritual, maybe that's where you find your sense of positivity. I feel like happiness is a spiritual, religious movement. I feel like positivity is involved in happiness and is another part of that spirituality. So I just want to keep the spirit alive here, and I'm so happy to have introduced myself to everyone in this episode, this very first episode of this podcast that I'm putting out there. I'm so nervous, if you can't tell. My words are being drawn out and said really awkwardly. It happens to me. It's probably because of MS, and probably because I'm nervous and I'm excited and I'm doing this. This is my passion project. This is my way of showing that I care because I do, and I don't want to continue to blabber on, but I really do hope that you love this too, and that you're able to hang in there with me and get involved, hopefully, with me in these future episodes throughout the life of this podcast and wherever that may take us, and that we all just are able to become good friends, mystical spirits, immaculate beings. And not that we're able to become them, but just that we're able to continuously know that we are already so amazing. And that MS ain't gonna bring us down, No matter if you are the patient with MS, whether your mama got MS, your daddy, your grandma, anyone who you're close to, I want you to know that this show exists so that you can come here, hopefully get some comic relief, feel supported, feel not alone, and understand that I want to hear your voice. I want to talk to you. I want to talk with you. And I want to continue this relationship. This looks like it's a good thing we've got going here. And I am so excited to continue it. And I appreciate that you have listened in on the first episode. Again, I can't thank you enough. I hope that you join in again. The show will be broadcasting over MS&Me Radio, and you can follow MS&Me Radio on Facebook or anywhere where have you. I'm going to look into posting it on hopefully a page for the show that comes up later on. I don't know. I really don't know the politics of all this and where all the power lies. I'm just, driving the car without directions. Such a millennial thing to do. But then again, having directions is always good too. So we'll see. Hopefully we get those going on soon and I receive an ultimate clarification on everything. I do, like I said earlier, want to go ahead and give you some contact information if you want to call, leave a message, or if you want to email anything, any cool articles that you want me to talk about or read or discuss. I would love to do that, especially if they have to do with multiple sclerosis, or if, it's just about you or anything you're going through that you want to reach out on. And I'm going to do that, just not this episode. This is the entry episode, so I want you to know what it's all about. And I hope you tune in next week. On Sunday is when the show will be debuting, and then you can hear it throughout the week. And I hope you have a good one. Happy New Year. Like I said before, this is Anne signing off. MS squared and out.